Yeah, I know what you're thinking. You can get a job in the Middle East simply by trying or by magic, through others, or by fluke. Remember that competition is everywhere. Some here, some there, but bam! Loimacito is the best.
All right, I've been speaking. Sorry. I've been speaking to a couple of people from the UAE, okay, especially who are my clients. Been preparing them for job interviews and jobs and all that. So these are the 3 common questions that are currently being asked by UAE expats, some of them. So because they are being asked again and again by my clients, I thought I'll put up this video and answer these 3 questions. Timestamp is put down below. You can let me know if you think I'm right or wrong. And these are the 3 FAQs that are being asked by UAE expats. Okay, the first one. First question is UAE moving more towards hiring of Arabs? Okay. And the logic being is they know Arabic and English, 2 languages. The second one is, what is my future in the UAE, or what is the future of UAE? Okay. The third one, will technology or AI take over UAE and disrupt the job market for expats? Okay, these are the 3 questions. Now, if you have any other question that are FAQs about UAE, you can let me know. I'll give you my opinion. I'm not saying that I'm right, but I definitely use my analysis and my experience. You can tell me if I'm wrong or right. So the first one is hiring of Arabs. Okay, first let's get one thing out of the way. UAE is a Muslim Arab country. It has to support its citizens, number 1. Like in Thailand, they support their citizens first. India supports its citizens first. Even in Europe, even in Canada. That is why when people migrate, they go abroad. I tell them, see, listen, if you're going to go abroad, keep in mind the first preference is the citizens. After they go through the citizens, if they can't get, then the second quota is immigrants. Okay? And then last comes refugee. They are not going to they're not going to give priority to any new immigrant over a citizen. Because the government will ask, why couldn't you give this same job or same salary or a little bit more to this thing? And in some cases, they even make it mandatory, no excuses. Okay? So that let's get out of the way. Now comes the second part. What about the other Arabs, which are non-Emirati? Let's say Palestinian, Jordanian, Syrian. Okay. Here common sense prevails. The first preference is always to take someone who can connect with the customer. If your majority client base, or you're dealing with decision makers who give you 80% of the revenue compared to the 20%, 80-20 Pareto principle, if they are Arabs or they are Arab Muslims, it's always beneficial to take an Arab. Because let's say, for example, an old Emirati, he doesn't speak English. You get 2 guys coming. One is a Brit, 3 guys. One is a Brit, one is an Indian, one is Arab Muslim. Old Emirati, he's the boss of $1 million company. British guy, morning. How are you, Mr. Abdullah? Such a pleasure to meet you. When can we have a discourse? And he'll have a translator. Sure, in the yahi, blah, 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 something. Okay, finish. He'll say, yeah, I'll talk to you later. Okay. Indian comes, sir, what about this, sir? You know, you want, please, sir. Everything, best price, sir, cheapest. I'm just making a parody, don't mind. South Indian people, my people, don't jump the gun. Hey, Loy, what? I'm Indian, I can make fun of Indians, okay. Now comes the Arab, Syrian, Palestinian, whatever, whichever Arab country you want. Let's say an African Arab, whatever. He comes a Faddal Sheikh, Faddal. Or he says, Salam alaikum, Allah khalli, Shuendak, blah, 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 everything Allah. They'll use 100 Allahs. Allah khalli, everything Allah. And, sir, you're like my father. God is great. Islam is fabulous. Ramadan is coming. How's your family? God bless you. Allah bless you. So this old man, of course, he will connect to him. See, who do we connect with when we go anywhere? When we go to a party, we always try to find a familiar face. When we go for a holiday to a foreign country, if you see, oh shit, this guy looks like he's from my country, you'll go and talk to him. We always go with things that are familiar. A guy who knows how to play chess, he will want to join a chess club. Guy knows karate, will not join a ballet class. A female who dances slow dance, say cha-cha-cha, she'll join a cha-cha-cha club. She'll not join a, hip-hop club. So even in categories, there are subcategories. We always like to go with what we can connect to, with what is familiar to us. So the psychology is very simple. If the majority audience, if the majority crowd of your target market speaks in Arabic, then it is absolutely beneficial to have an Arab English speaking guy. And core areas that I see this being very popular, construction, especially engineering, consultants, then contractors, then if you're talking of travel and tourism, if you're talking VVIP clients, if you know Arab, in Saudi, an Arab client comes in and you don't know Arabic, what the fuck are you going to serve him, man? So let's get that out of the way. And the biggest fact is today, because of COVID-19, the pandemic and recession, there are so many Arabs who are ready to work for half the salary, maybe less than what you know. I am not saying that they are more competent. There are plenty of them. It's even worse if someone is competent, but he needs food to take care of his family and he charges less. I'm seeing plenty of this happen in the market. And given the fact that Emirates Airlines and so many other top airlines, big hiring monsters, have removed people, there are plenty of people who speak multiple languages. So having additional knowledge of the local language and being of the same religion is always a bonus. Number one. Second topic. One second. Second topic is, what about the future? This is such a common question. What about the future? See, I told you this before and I'm telling you again. The future of UAE is always there. Unless, of course, there's a nuclear bomb or there's a bloody, annexation by some country and totally destroy the country, which is not going to happen. Both of them, which I said, is it's like a black swan event which will never happen. Okay, so UAE's future will always be there. UAE will always be there. Dubai will always be there. Yes, there'll be ups and downs, and yes, where money is concerned, they might go into a deficit. UAE will continue. They have their own plans, their ways. Black money will come in, money laundering. Some hook or by crook, they'll make it work. But it's not the future of UAE that you should be worried about. It is your future. In fact, none of us can accurately predict the future. We can assume, we can give our assumptions. Okay? Sometimes we'll be right, sometimes we'll be wrong. So, whether UAE moves towards being more modernized or pro-Israel or whatever, I think more than UAE, you need to worry about your future. What is your future? And by that I mean, are you employable? Are you employable? Not are you employed. Employable means, do people want to employ you? Do they want to offer you a job? If you apply anywhere, do they consider you? So employable is very, very important. Employable. Okay? You have to be a type of person, like, they say personal brand. No? You have to be someone who people recognize as an industry expert. Okay, fine, I don't mind giving you a job. Okay, employable. The second part is, after employable, is what is your game plan? Do you have a game plan? Do you have something in mind? Okay, many people say, yeah, Loy, if I lose my job, I'll go back. No. I'm not asking you assumptions. Have you a plan of action that you're already implementing? Like, for example, let's say someone says, Loy, my plan is to start a business. Have you already invested the money? Do you have the savings? Do you have the plan of action? Do you already have the partner? Do you have the legal papers? Have you signed everything legally, properly? No, if everything is up in the air, doesn't make sense. And even if you have money in the bank, but there's nothing being implemented, and the worst part is you don't have any action, you don't have any experience. See, saying that, oh, I will learn karate, and actually having experience of being a karate fighter is two different things. And I always tell people, whatever is your plan B, start it now. So when you're working, suppose your dream is to have a side business. When you're working, at least you get the money, you can pump it into the business. And you can, you're not dependent on anyone. And then you can make the business grow. As the business grows, fine. One day when it raises up to your level and more, and your business is consistent, jump over. But if in case, let's assume if in case that business goes in a loss, at least you have the money. At least you have the money to survive. So the main thing which I'm trying to tell you here is, whatever is your plan of action, start executing it now. Don't execute it one day. So to conclude in terms of the future part, what is your future? You need to take care of your ass. You need to have money. You need to protect yourself. And you need to take care of your, survival of the fittest. Yeah. What happened? Yes? My baby is crying. Yes? Now she's crying even more to get my attention. So she's cranky nowadays. Anyway, so that's with regards to future. See, remember, wherever you go to China, you go to Taiwan, you go to Malaysia, you go to Canada, your future depends on now. Okay? And you need to do whatever it takes to survive. Don't expect miracles. Last question. Technology. Okay, will technology take over and AI take over and people will lose their jobs? Okay, here's my answer. Remember in the 80s when computers came, what they said, shit, computers will take over and all human beings will lose their jobs. Were they right? Well, they were right. The old guys who knew how to operate manually, they were not required. But new guys were required who knew how to handle computers. And if you look at it today, from 1980 to today, 40 years? Today, still more people are employed. Computers have not taken over. In fact, you need people to run those computers and software. Okay. So the industrial complex has gotten even better. Now, instead of a man fixing a car like Henry Ford's, the cars, you have the machines doing it much more faster, accurately and better through computers. But now comes AI. It can think by itself, it can do by itself. Now, is there a possibility there will come a day and time where AI can do everything? Yes. But if that day comes, they will take over the world. Like these apocalyptic movies, Terminator, because they are efficient machines. They don't need human beings. And if they can get a self-learning mechanism where they self-aware, it's better to kill all the human beings and AI to take over. So that would happen. Now if that happens, obviously end of the world. I don't think they're ever going to let that happen, because if you meddle in this and you start having robot soldiers, and it becomes like a video game, man. But remember, when you have a self-aware AI system, they will realize human beings are not good enough. Like if you see the movie Prometheus, the Alien series, it's a part 4, I think, part 4 or part 5, Prometheus. This guy, AI, is artificially made, okay? He is not human. He asks his creator, who is a human being, will I ever grow old? He says, the creator says, no, you'll never grow old. You'll always be young and all that. But then he looks at his creator and thinks that, but you're getting old. You're losing faculty. You need me. And very soon you'll die. So who's the superior one? A great statement, you know. So the main thing which I'm trying to make you understand here is when AI takes over, when artificial intelligence takes over, and if they make the stupid mistake of giving self-awareness, that'll be the end of humanity. But we are talking of something that is, I don't know, 100 years or 500 years or 1000 years ahead. Okay? So let's look at the future in terms of now. I don't think AI is going to take over, at least immediately, certain parts of the job, but I would be more worried of outsourcing. Outsourcing is a major challenge. If you can get 10 people's work done in Bangladesh, when you convert dirhams to Bangladeshi taka or Indian rupees, you'll obviously get a much more competitive price. And maybe there are so many agencies or youngsters dying for a job. Why do you think Amazon or any online service provider, when you call them, maybe because Indians are the maximum population in the world, I called up Amazon for some service, I got Vikram. I called up Shopee, which is a Thai website, and Lazada. I even got an Indian guy. I think I got a female, Sheila or something. And sometimes they might even have an English name, but it might be some guy from Sri Lanka or Africa or something. Now, I'm not trying to bring them down, but the cost per employee per hour, if you compare USA or Europe versus India or Pakistan or Bangladesh, cheaper, right? So business has to think of cutting down cost. So now the question is, how do you survive? Well, you make yourself competent. You make your skills so valuable. You brand yourself, you market yourself, you sell yourself. You be a revenue generating machine. An outsourcing guy can't do that. If you show your expertise, your ability to generate revenue, you know how to sell yourself, they will definitely give you a chance. See what I'm doing. I'm not trying to brag here. What I'm doing, you go to Fiverr, you go to Naukri.com, you go to Gulf Talent, you go to Upwork, you go to Freelancer. The same service I'm offering, you can get for $5. Same service, which I'm offering. Only difference is they'll do copy paste. That's the only difference. Or you can even go to Google and search. If you search for some time, you'll get free CV templates. 5,000, 50,000. In fact, if you go to, I think this is WordPress, the WordPress official website, you'll get 50,000 resume templates for $50, $100. That's the same software that these recruitment companies use. However, why am I getting jobs? Why am I getting customers? Why am I getting clients? Why am I getting referrals? End of the day, if you give a customized service and you're really good at what you do, I'm not saying you will be invincible, but you'll, if not thrive, you'll at least survive. So that is the reality of the market. So these are the 3 points that I wanted to give you. You can let me know if I'm right or wrong. Okay? Please do put your comments. I find them interesting to read. And if you have any more questions, put them down below. Love to answer it. You guys take care. This is me signing off. Ciao.